So we got Michelle Baxo coming on in just a minute here. Make sure you stay tuned. Before that, though, I want to talk to you. If you're an influencer, an entrepreneur, a world changer, purpose-driven human being, let's talk. How can I support you? How can I help you serve the world in a bigger way? Maybe it's through becoming your greatest possible self, coming on the marathon. Maybe it's through connecting you with one of these amazing human beings like Michelle, who's about to come on and rock your world, teach you about love, a thing or two, or anyone else who's on the marathon. I'm happy to connect you. Just let me know what your story, your mission, and your message is, and I'm happy to support how I can. Also, if you want to start your own podcast or show or platform, I love helping people launch that as well. Chris at beyourgps.com. That's my email. Send me an email or find me on Facebook or Instagram and message me there. Facebook is /TH3Burns. Instagram is at I am millionaire Chris. Would love to hear from you. Next up is the iTunes review of the week. And this week it's by Chaim K. I think that's how you pronounce it. We'll see. Like a nav system for your soul. This podcast is aptly named GPS. The majority of men and women lead lives without a map, without an overview of the big picture. This podcast will help you navigate through life and truly become your best possible self, your greatest possible self. That's exactly why we're here, peeps, and we're having a lot of fun doing it as well, so it's a win-win. If you want support to become your greatest possible self, stay tuned in. Definitely subscribe on iTunes. Would love to have you keep continuing the journey with us. Keep growing yourself and continue to become your greatest possible self. beyourgps.com/iTunes. That's how you can find us, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store. And once you're there, subscribe, give us a rating and review. Let us know what you love, what you want to see more of, how we can improve the show. I love getting that feedback. Thank you so much in advance. Keep growing yourself. I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job. Just keep moving forward. I'm going to introduce Michelle in just a second. Before that, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and be ready to be transformed, because this fellow Landmark graduate is a powerhouse, and I'm so excited to have her on the show because we're going to be diving into the gold in this hour. So make sure that you are ready for that because it is going to be incredible. So let's introduce Michelle, and then we'll bring her on the screen. Michelle Baxo is an international love coach who leads kick-ass women in a unique approach to love and dating so they can have lasting love without settling. Can I say that again? Without settling or compromising themselves. You freaking deserve it. Know it. Michelle has a master's degree in counseling psychology and a professional background in psychotherapy, mind-body work, and coaching. She has also led personal development programs for Landmark worldwide to hundreds of people. Michelle's passion for helping powerful women create the love life of their dreams started from her own personal journey from being successful but single to empowered and in love. Michelle believes there are just too many awesomely powerful people in the world looking for love, and that it is simply not true that there are no options out there. They are just hidden from your view. And we are blessed to have Michelle with us here today. Michelle, are you ready to rock the house, Superwoman?
I'm so ready. How can I not be ready with an intro like that? And Chris, I just have to say, I freaking love your energy so much. It's like I'm just bubbling over here from your energy. So thank you.
Yes, I love it, Michelle. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I receive it. I own it. I strive to have so much fun and bring the energy up and uplift people and empower them and awaken them to become their greatest possible self. And that's why you are here today, because you're going to be helping us to grow in our love and connection and create those relationships we desire. Before that, I want to talk about the theme of the day, which is live events that change lives. And you know a thing or two about live events, seminars, workshops. So tell us a little bit more about your experience with those, Michelle.
I didn't know I was going to talk about this today, but sure. Okay, so, well, in a few different ways. So, I mean, we could look at my experience with Landmark from, I had two different ways that I was involved in the live events. Yeah. One, I used to be the person who managed all of the live events. So all those evening sessions and special evening, those huge events that were in the hotels and you know, conference buildings and stuff. So I ran those. I both had done the production of them, also managed from the back of the room, empowering the person at the front of the room. So that was, I suppose, one way I was involved. And then I became a leader of such programs. And so that was, I led the Introduction Leaders Program, which is, people who want to train to lead them. I would lead things from the front of the room in New York in those weekends. And then now I speak on the area of love and dating, which is a really exciting thing too. So, what else have I done? I was a school teacher at one point. I was a camp counselor when I was little, so, at the campfire with my guitar, singing some song I wrote. So, I think it's all really connected. I think, whether it's the personal development at Landmark, my current passion now, which is empowering, women to go after the kind of love that they really want in a way that actually works, or me strumming my guitar, bearing my soul at the campfire. It all really comes from, and I think the most effective way that we can be live in front of people is that we're evoking our passion, that we have put some thought into it, so we know what it is that we are out to. We have an intention that we want to fulfill, but that it's not about getting it right. I hardly ever I do prepare, but I never over prepare, because if I over prepare, I am this constrained, like, it's so awkward. It's so weird, Chris. You wouldn't want to ever see me really prepared for anything. And so, but really, I think that's something that people connect to. I think we really connect, and we want to be spoken to by other human beings that have experienced things that maybe we haven't, or that are maybe on a skinnier branch than what we have been on, to inspire us in a certain way. But we do not want the perfectly polished presentations anymore. So that's what I can say about presentations.
I love it.
Events or whatever.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. I love it. It's super powerful. I love how you shared, it's like really about evoking that passion in us to be able to share that with people. What's our intention going into that, being clear about that. That's what really makes a great live event. And you've been a part of events that, like, you see people transform, our minds have been blown at the level of, when someone walks into a room and how they walk out of a room, and that contrast, that difference, because of the types of events, especially that we have been a part of. And now you're like doing this with love. You're doing this with relationships, even more hyper focused, and specifically, especially the successful women who like think that, man, I'm successful, but I can't have it all. Like, why can't I have it all? And that's total freaking BS, isn't it, Michelle?
It is, but it is BS, but I totally get why so many think it, because I thought it for so long. Yes. Oh my God, I was so frustrated, because here I was, a psychotherapist. I was a mind-body healer. I was a manager and leader at Landmark. I had all the resources at my fingertips. I had discovered transformation. I knew what it was to be a powerful, connected human being. And you would think that it would just naturally ooze into my love life. Like somehow I would get this, what's the word I'm thinking of? Like it would affect it in that way. There's a word I'm thinking of. I can't think of it, but if I'd prepared better, I'd probably know the word. But it didn't. It was like these areas of my life were growing, but not in this one. In fact, it was getting worse, actually, and I'll share a little bit about that in a bit. But that's the thing. I think it's really important to know that at least I can't speak for other love, dating, and relationship coaches. I don't know what they do. They do whatever they do. But I know for me, I am not focused on the poor me people. Those aren't my people. And I'm sure I could support them. But my people are the ones that are like, I actually think I'm quite a catch. Yeah. I have a lot to offer. People around me are kind of like, what's the deal? But you're banging your head against the wall, not knowing why this isn't working. How do I bring my awesomeness to my love life? How do I bring someone just, awesome into my love life? Because there's things in the way. There's things hidden from our view, including those amazing people.
I love it. So you specifically, the work that you do, the stand that you are for women is helping them if they have something that's hidden from their view that is like
Well, not
blocking
if.
them.
No, they all do. We all
Ah,
do. And
all right.
I'm still discovering things hidden from my view, even in my relationship, so that I can keep having a delicious one. So, but
Mm.
yes, so yes, that is one of the things that we do. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I
It's
just
all
want to make
good.
sure, like, because it's important. This is why I interrupted it, Chris, because
Yeah.
it's really important that we squash the shame
Mm.
around not having what it is that we want in this area, that being contributed to in this area. Like,
Mm.
these are all things, like, we have no problem, buying books on entrepreneurship.
Mm.
Try walking into a bookstore and buy a book, about wanting a relationship, or wanting a man, or
Mm.
wanting more passion. Like, these are, you might do it, but
Mm.
you got to admit there's like that feeling, right?
Yeah, a little bit of
Uh,
uncomfortability, especially I know for men, it's like to buy a book that says like how to please your woman and have great relationships. It's like men are supposed to have it all together.
Yeah. And women, and see, it's exactly right. And for women, the conversation is more like, if we don't have one, it's because we don't need one, which,
Mm.
sure, like, is accurate. I wouldn't say that I like need a man, but for me to have a whole life, for me to fulfill the vision of life that I want, it includes a beautiful, delicious, connected partnership, in my life. So we really do need to, change the conversation around it. We need to be, if I could sort of shift one thing, it would be for men and women to start, like, today, announcing, declaring, like, I am looking for love, and here's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Here's what I want.
Mm.
Because imagine how easy it would be to ask someone out. Actually, not spoiler alert. That is how Tommy ended up asking me out, is because I was that public about it.
Yeah.
And Tommy's my life partner, and we share a child, and all amazing things, right? I know, right? But so I wanted to interrupt that part. That's like, if, helping women, if there are things hidden from your view, if there are things stopping you, what I can say is, if you don't want to be in a relationship, not a problem.
Mm.
Rock the single life if that's really what it is that you want. You can also rock the single life and be after the relationship that you want by taking the right steps, removing any barriers that are in the way, like
Mm.
unapologetically wanting what it is that you want, and getting whatever support you need
Mm.
to get you to where you want to go faster, like you do in every other area of your life. Because I know who I'm talking to in this podcast. These
Yep.
are not wallflowers I'm talking to here, right? So,
Nope.
um, yeah, that's what I'd say about
Cool. I love it.
that.
I love it. So you're really supporting people with this, and it really comes from your own experience, right? So I
Mm,
want to dive back into that journey and talk
yeah.
about what were your struggles like, and what was hidden from your view, and how did you break through that and create an even more magnificent, the best relationship ever.
Yeah, yeah, of my life, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
The one, right?
Yeah.
So okay, so one thing I can just mention is that I was in two long-term relationships, both of which we were on the pathway to marriage. This was in my one of my early 20s, one of my late 20s. We
Okay.
lived together, we traveled together, and it was like on the way, got a dog together with one of them, that whole deal. Like, it was going in that way. We had been talking about marriage. Both didn't turn out. The first one, I was young. I hadn't figured out who I was. I just over accommodated the whole relationship, lost
Mm.
myself, fell out of love, that whole story, needed to then go find myself as a woman. This is a very common story, very
Yeah.
common thing for those of us that fall in love in our early 20s.
Mhm.
And this is someone I had really admired. Then I had another relationship. It was the opposite. This is something we often do. If something doesn't work out, then we go and swing the other way. So then I fell in love with someone who adored me, who thought I was so
Mhm.
amazing.
Mhm.
And and I got swept up in that. And that relationship didn't turn out. He had alcohol problems. He had issues, beautiful potential,
Mhm.
and a beautiful connection, insane chemistry. So we kept breaking up, going back, all of this. But it was not, it wasn't what, I couldn't do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't my life. I had that, we have those come to Jesus moments where we say, this is not my life.
Yeah.
I did it when I was a school teacher too. This is not my life. Bless teachers, but this isn't my life, right? And so that was my history in long-term relationships. Both times for me, I was the one who fell out of love, but it could have happened in, for many of my clients, it can happen in either direction. But those are the things that happened. My fellow landmark friend, right? And so after that, I was really focused on my life, my transformation, the things that are important to me. I knew that finding my person was something that was important to me, but but I never really thought it was an issue. I just, was kind of going with it. I was open to it. I dated people and so on. But what I noticed was happening was I ended up having a lot of casual relationships, a lot of like I'm going to be really embarrassingly honest here, right? But a lot of friends with benefits. I dated men and women. Like one night, some one night stands, but usually it was more like friends, or I would date people who I didn't want it to be a friend with benefits. I didn't want it to be a one night stand, so I was like kind of okay with it too, but kind of hoped it was going to turn into something else. I was crushing like freaking crazy. So there was always someone I had a massive crush on, and I would be really intentional about, and I really, in my mind, I was bringing my personal development. I was bringing my training, my professional training. I was bringing all of it to this area. I was taking unreasonable actions. I was asking people out. I was going for it. I had the courage. I was going on dates. I was online dating. I was meeting people in person. I was doing all of that, but none of it. It was like it was never matching. They were either people, I was either having feelings for people where they didn't want to be in a relationship with me, or the people who did, I just simply wasn't attracted to or interested in. And it was like bang. It was six years of this, Chris. 6 years of like what I consider like going for it. Drove me freaking crazy. Let me tell you.
And
then,
who are you being? Yeah. Who are you being at the end of those 6 years because of a probably seemingly lack of results?
I was frustrated. I was tired.
Yeah.
I was disillusioned, and to be honest, I was starting to become resigned. Yeah. I'd stopped saying I wanted to have kids.
Wow.
Because out of the people that I was coming across as potentials, they weren't people I could actually see myself wanting kids. I'd actually started declaring. I was at the time I was actually a staff member at Landmark, so I was working long hours for anyone who's familiar with that company. Like it was like intense hours, 6 days a week. So I had decided I actually wanted a lover. I wasn't like built for, maybe because I developed myself so much that, status quo relationship. It was like, I thought maybe I'd evolved past a committed relationship was what I told myself. And someone had asked me, I was at a place where I was looking at like, what's next for me? Like, what's the next thing I'm going to take on in my life? And so the question that was posed to me was, okay, well, just have a look at the end of your life. If you looked back and you'd accomplished everything you've accomplished so far, if this was the end of your life, what would you regret that you hadn't accomplished? Like, what would you be remorseful about? And it was right there for me. I wouldn't have had my person to create and share my life with. Yeah. And I had buried that vision so deep. So I'm getting chills right now just thinking about it. It was so deep, but as soon as it was like, it smacked me in the face. I was like, oh my God, I do have a vision of love that I want. It's almost palpable, but I honestly, don't think it's possible. 'Cause like, where is it? Where is he? Where is any of this? Right. If it was going to happen, it would have happened already. And that's when I decided that I just couldn't continue doing work on myself in other areas, hoping this thing was just going to turn out. I had to start doing something different. So I did.
So what, like I'm curious because it sounds like you had been working on it and like putting everything that you could into it, but that wasn't enough. Why wasn't it enough?
It wasn't enough. So for a few reasons. One is I was doing different versions of the same thing. So going out with the same kinds of people, being attracted to the same kinds of people. Like it was, you could see the little patterns, and there was about 3 or 4 of them. And I was always doing one of those versions. It never seemed like it at first, you know, and other people would say, this is like another one of those things. And I'm like, no, you just don't know him. No, you just don't know her, or whatever it was. Right. And it was, but I was unwilling to see what other people were pointing to. I was really stuck in the ways that I went about it. Like just as an example, having strong feelings for someone that really didn't like all of me. Like I remember one of the last ones before I really broke through. He didn't like, actually let's have a couple of them, didn't like that I had a dog. It was a turnoff to him that I had a dog. I mean, my dog is like my child, like my family member. Like how could I even consider being with someone who is like, oh, you have a dog? You're like one of those women with a dog. Ugh. You know, or, oh, you work a lot. Oh. And so I was like, oh gosh, like, okay, I'm just going to have to be okay with some people not liking that. That's okay. I'm really accommodating. I'm powerful enough that I can put up with crap, you know, like this kind of, and because that was all that was showing up, I thought I had to figure out, how do I maneuver this within the people that are showing up? And so the thing that, like, you know, in terms, can I get into the brain, because we're going to talk about changing our brains. Can I dive right into it?
Dive in right now.
Yeah. Okay, good. So the thing about, and I know that other people watching, it's men or women, it's like, you know, if you're single and you're not seeing what you're looking for, you really believe that there only is the people that you see out there, because you're online and you're social, and it really seems that way. And what I'm about to tell you is going to sound obvious, but I'll bet you're not applying it in your love life. So our brain is wired to only see the choices that are familiar to our brain. So just like after, you know, any of us who've bought a car, we know this, like you buy a car, or you even pick which car you want to buy, all of a sudden you see that car everywhere. It's like you see that car way more. And the cars that you ride, unless, okay, if you're, maybe it's a little different for guys because you guys like cars, but same thing. If you really like certain cars, you notice those cars more than the ones that are like invisible to you that you really don't care about. Right. And so for those of us who don't care about cars, we notice the ones that are relevant to our lives in some way, like I bought one. And there's so many cars on the freeway or the highway, wherever you are, and we don't notice most of them. Only certain ones register. And it's the same thing when it comes to potential matches for you. So the people that are showing up for you as your choices, even the ones that you're swiping right, or right is yes, right? So the ones you're swiping right on, these are all people, and it's all subconscious. It's so automatic. You don't even know you're doing it, but in some way they are registering as something familiar to you, even if that familiarity is a negative thing. And we all know, or we have heard of, or maybe some of you have even experienced, you know, people who've been in an abusive or really unhealthy relationship finally have the courage to leave that relationship, do all this work on themselves, finally have the courage to go back into a new relationship just to find out it's a different kind of the same freaking mess. Right? Because it's the same. It's like the brain is just used to that same. It's like it's familiar. So the familiar feels good because it feels comfortable. We call that attraction. And then we go with that. And it's so, if you're not, and it gets worse and worse, like really, like mine was getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Don't want to give you too many details. Right. But we justify it and we work around it because we're all really strong, you know, we're strong people. Right. So that's, you know, that is what was happening. That is one of the main things that was happening to me. Didn't matter what other people told me, because I was going to go with what felt right. And I know, and now men are starting to develop their intuition more commonly now too. I know for women, it's something that, you know, that we take pride in is our intuition. We take pride in our ability to read people. And when it comes to love and dating, I'm sorry, we are all men, women. We are like cavemen and women. Okay. enlightenment when it comes to this area. We are like 14-year-old boys and girls doing what feels good and calling it intuition and calling it, no, I just knew it wasn't, all of it. It's like, it's a mess, right? Yeah. And we don't like to feel 14. So then we don't go, so we don't deal with it. We don't talk about it. We don't deal with it because we much rather talk about the areas where we feel, more empowered and enlightened in. Yeah. So, so one of the things, and I can talk you through some really talk the viewers through some really specific things that they can do, but I'll just share a little bit, in my story. One of the things that I did was I decided to make my journey public. Like seriously public. So like on my cell phone, nothing fancy. I didn't know this was going to be my career. I was really just doing this because I wanted to crack through whatever this crap was that was getting in my way. So first of all, I decided to make it public, and that was to squash the shame around it and also to make my journey about something more than just me. Because if I'm sharing my journey, then there's the opportunity to inspire other people. And it also holds me accountable to not being to dealing with that 14-year-old and maybe being, at the time I was 34, maybe being that 34-year-old woman at times too, right? So it was for accountability, for squashing shame, for inspiring others. So that was one. And the way I made it public was I did a video blog on my cell phone facing me. And what I was doing is, and then the other piece of it was letting people contribute to me. So I had surrendered knowing what the heck I was doing in this area. I had let go of this ego of, oh, I did love this program, or, oh, I'm a master's in this. Like, shut up. I didn't know what I was doing and I needed to come clean. And so I actually reached out to everyone in my life and I started interviewing them or getting them to send me what are your dating tips? Here's what I want. I'm out to find the love of my life and create a lasting, passionate relationship. What do you got for me? Yeah. And I started listening. Now, it didn't mean, you got to be careful because that doesn't mean do everything everyone tells you, because then you can become a leaf in the wind, right? About what it is that I wanted so that could keep me on track, right? I mean, one person gave me advice that was like, have sex on the first date. Like, okay, well, that's obviously not going to support me in what my intention is, right? That was one of the guys that I'd had a crush on, to give you a sense of how, out to lunch I was with my attraction meter. Anyway, I'm like, I already been having sex with people. That's not helping me, thanks for nothing.
Well, this is really good. This is really good. So I want to recap it. If people are watching or listening, write this down. It's so important. Surrender, knowing what you're doing. If there's an area that you just feel like you've been stuck or blocked with, surrender that you know what you're doing in that area, and just come with an open mind. Say, I don't know what the heck I'm doing, and ask the people who you respect for their wisdom and guidance, and say, what would you do in this situation? How would you approach it? And listen for the wisdom and be discerning about it too.
And here's the thing, you don't even have to direct them. You can just say, this is what I want. What advice do you have for me? Leave it nice and open, because people have opinions and people have thought about you, and people, and the way that's true is because you have wisdom that you wish other people in your life would just take. If that person just knew how great they were, if they just really knew how great they were, then they would stop dating trash, for example, right? One of the pieces of advice that someone gave me, and it was the sound technician at one of the events that I was managing, actually. But, so we didn't know each other necessarily on a best friend or family level, but we ran it. We worked together almost every week. So I just asked him even, and he gave me a piece of advice that was so amazing. He said, Michelle, you've become so coachable to a fault that nobody knows who you actually are. And so if I were looking, he sort of looked, and he was in a relationship, but he was like, if I were looking to ask myself if I want to be in a relationship with you, I wouldn't really know what you is that I'd even be asking myself if I want to be in a relationship with you, because your coachability has become like over accommodating, over like transparent, or just, maybe transparent's not the right word, but just like nothing to to grab onto.
Right.
And I'd never thought of it that way. And so that was a really great opportunity for me to go, okay, yes, I am no thing. That is accurate. But I do have an existence. I do have a physical form. I do have the capacity to connect with another. Who do I want that person connecting with? And how can I have them feel safe and feel like not only are they known, but they know me? And so, I mean, that was like this, that was the sound guy. And this was like a knock me back piece of wisdom that still to this day makes a huge difference in my life and in how I coach other people too, actually. So that's one example.
That's so powerful. I love it. I love how like we can receive this wisdom and guidance from people we're not even expecting, but if we open ourselves up to hear it, it can make all the difference for us.
Yeah, totally. And you just have to, it's like, we squash the shame by making it public. This just squashes the ego. Oh my God. Like the know-it-all part of us, the like, I know what's best. Trust me, if he had walked into my life, I would know it. Tommy was in my life, just so you know, right? So Tommy was volunteering or assisting. I ran into him every single week. He was a Facebook friend. And one of the actions that I had taken, I love this, one of the actions I had taken when I was like, really taking action but not transforming anything was I would go through every single friend in my Facebook. Like I'm like, there's got to be people in my network that are single and like possible matches for me. And I went through every single one and it was no to everyone. I think there was one person and it turned out he was like traveling across the world. Another typical person that I would swipe right on, someone who's not actually available because they're off doing these amazing things on their own, right? And that was who I was like, oh yeah, that one, right? Tommy didn't make that cut. I would never have thought of it, right? It wasn't, and then it was, so I had made, so, part of my journey was I was video blogging it. And what I would do is I would video blog, I would interview someone, or I would say what the tip is and discuss it. I would share about my journey, but then I would also go on dates. And I had a rule. I was going on 2 dates a week, no matter what. And I would go on and I was, again, remember, I'm working 6 days a week. I have no freaking time for this. When I got to go grocery shopping and do those things on my Sunday. No, I also did 2 dates. And I would apply a date, and I would apply a personal development, strategy, and I would try it out on the date and then report back. And I wouldn't have gone out with Tommy if it wasn't for that structure. I call it the dating game. I wouldn't have considered him. I wouldn't have been, I really liked the guy I went out with him earlier that day. Actually, I thought that was going to be the person that I was going to go out with. So if I hadn't have been like reset button, okay, no, you never know. Someone even more amazing could show up on this next date. And it ended up being my love.
Aww. So what were you clear on that made Tommy work for you, and like that you were clear on something that's like, yes, this is the one, or you were clear on your structure or who you were looking for? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that's really important, so that I did and that I coach my clients in is you need to be clear on, you don't have to be perfectly clear. You don't have to know what he looks like or what job he should have or how much money he should make or any of that crap, right? Or how tall he is. That's a really big one for women, right? All you need to be clear on is what are your main values, and what's the vision of love that you want. And when I say vision of love, it can even be something as simple as like for me, it was a monogamous life partnership, right? So I knew I wanted that was created, that allowed for changing the rules, that allowed for, something other than the status quo. Like I wasn't, for me, it needs to be like, we can evolve and grow and change and change the rules. And if, we decide we want to, have some fun night with somebody else, we could talk about that, right? These sorts of things. Like there needed to be that kind of like
openness to communication.
Right? Yeah. By the way, we created that in the beginning, and we've never even wanted to or needed to.
Right.
I believe by virtue of, we know we could have that conversation if we wanted to.
Yeah.
It's amazing how fulfilling something is when
Yeah.
you know you could have more, but you don't even need it. It's
Wow.
right.
That's so awesome.
But to go back to it, so the vision of love is important. It doesn't have to be super, super specific.
Okay.
Like, just stick to the basics. If you know you want a committed monogamous relationship, then that's and maybe something like, okay, I know I want to live like in the city or in the country, like that's as far as you really need to go. And then be clear on what your values are about, like if your religion is for some people, their religion's really important to them and they want to raise a family within that religion. Well, then there's no point in going out with people of different religions then. Like, that's like waste. Why would you do that? Right. So to know what your core values are, and that's, in the beginning, those are the only criteria. Spark is not a criteria. Chemistry is not a criteria. Being the funniest guy in the room is not a criteria. It's just those things. And then you connect. Your only job at that point is to, besides being fully whole and complete and able to just be like free yourself, like really bring all of you. Because if you're not free, then no one can get in with you. No one can win with you anyway, right? So you got to be doing, your share of it, and then allowing for that connection and causing that connection and seeing over time what develops. And like I said, so Tommy, like, I had a lot of things working against me. I'd already met him a number of times, and I figured I would have already have known if I was interested. So I had already in my mind decided certain things about him. Like, I went, because he was a Facebook friend, and I looked on his page, because that's what you do. And I'm like, it's all Blue Jays stuff. It's like this big blue page. And I'm like, that's all this guy is? Like, this is not, oh God, this is going to be one of those, like, go on a date and then I'm going to run into him afterwards and be, you know what I mean? It's going to be awkward. So I really, it took everything in me to actually acknowledge all of that and then be truly open. And then it became an exploration of being surprised. Like, I was surprised to discover he had done more personal development than I had. I'm a Reiki master. He had done his level 2 Reiki. I'm like, this is what? He was super masculine, but also like not at all afraid to share about his feelings and to ask and be engaged. He was also really chivalrous, which was good for me because I was super awkward around chivalry, but I wanted it, but I was awkward with it. So there was all these things. Oh, and then my dream come true was always, like, since I was probably about 17, since I found out what Tantra was, I always said, I would love to be with someone where we could do Tantra workshops together.
Yeah.
So we could bring our development, our personal development, our spiritual development, our sexual development, all in one like thing that we could do together. I mean, how could a relationship ever go sour if you have that? And so that was, I'm like, that's never going to happen. Michelle, you're crazy for wanting that. The guy's done like all these like intensive workshops. He's volunteered at them. He's supported training. Like, it just, he was like a master in my books compared to me. And he was thinking, gosh, I hope I can meet someone who'd be open to this sort of thing. Right. Yeah. So those were all things that were like icing on the cake. Right. But I never would have discovered any of those things if I was set in my, I really don't see myself with a jock. I really don't see myself with, someone who's like really into sports. Like, they're just not like, I hate to say that I ever thought this way, but I got to be honest, right? Like, it's not like evolved enough for me, or he's not going to be deep enough for me, or he's not, I hate to say that I thought these things, but I did. And I needed to recognize can I swear? No, probably not. Right? Yeah. Okay. Like, what a shit I was being. I had to recognize that, how righteous I was being, how, all the while being this amazing person, I was also being a righteous bitch who was closed off to people because I thought I knew, and so I know that wasn't quite the question you'd asked me, Chris. You were asking about what were some of the things, but it was like, I wouldn't even have allowed those things, if it weren't for that. And then I don't know. There was a number of things, but really I would say vision,
Mm-hmm.
vision and values are the most important. It doesn't have to be 100% the same. If
Mm-hmm.
you've got 70% vision and values that coincide, you're rocking. And then the rest you get creative with, you figure it out, you find your way because you like the person enough, right?
Yeah. And I think it's also like being clear, knowing who you are and meeting someone who knows who they are and being able to
Yeah.
communicate that. I think
Yeah.
that's like the most important thing is if you find someone who's not as self-aware as you are, that's I think when the gap starts to happen. Is like when you
Yeah.
have to help them figure out who they are, then oftentimes it's like it's not even kind of relationship, a give and take relationship. It's very
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
can totally happen. But you also still got to watch out with that, Chris,
Mm,
because though, we've all done, and I know all all you guys watching, like we've all done all of this work. So we become smart rats. And you
mm,
guys know that line, yesterday's transformation becomes today's ego
yeah.
trip, right? And so, yeah, I can see when you're complaining. Yeah, I can see when you're limiting yourself. Yeah, I
Mm,
can see, like, good for freaking me. Right.
yeah.
So I think something that also really needs to happen is that you catch yourself doing that, because
Mm,
that's armor.
mm,
A lot of people are watching Brene Brown right now, who talks a lot about shame and armor, which
yeah.
is perfect. I talk a lot about shame and armor in this particular context. There's differences, similarities,
Mm,
right? So, a lot of the times the things that we've become really good at, the things that we're really confident in, also become our armor. And our
mm,
armor is based on fear, and it protects us from people and therefore separates us from people.
mm,
And so that, like, so I agree with you. No one, if you start making it your job to develop and like to grow someone else, yeah, that's never going to work.
mm,
Definitely don't do that. But the mindset shift, what I would say is important to really practice
mm,
is, and you can do this in everything. You should be doing, we should all be doing this with our clients. We should be doing this with our family members. Everyone
mm,
is actually be hunting for the wisdom that
mm,
they're teaching you.
mm.
Be humbled by someone's simplicity.
Wow.
It's like there's a reason why there's the Tao of Pooh. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's like someone who took Winnie the Pooh,
Mhm.
right? And Winnie the Pooh is like this sort of like
Yep.
very simplistic character, to say the least,
Yeah.
right? And there's a book called The Tao of Pooh, and it's actually demonstrating Taoism through the story of Winnie the Pooh. And Winnie the Pooh is actually the wisest of them all. Okay. uh, so there can be, I just really, like, I invite
Yeah.
everybody to challenge that part of you, that thinks that, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
you
think
got,
it's bring
yeah,
wonder to
yes,
everyone and everything, and like challenge assumptions. Because
that's
if
great.
we are struggling with something, it's probably because there's something hidden from our view that we are
Yes.
so righteous and certain about. When in reality, it's because of that like certainty that we hold on to and are attached to, that we aren't experiencing the results that we want. And if we opened up and dropped the ego and surrendered our knowingness and said, I don't know, what can I learn, what can you teach me, then that's really when we open ourselves up to like miracles.
Oh man, you said that so much better than me. I love it. Yeah, exactly. What he said. What he said.
I love it. I
And
love it.
I'm saying all of that, because I know who I'm talking to, right?
Yeah.
This is all on top of the premise of do not settle. Do
Mm,
not just go for someone because they really like you, or
mm,
because, like, there's a lot of people, men and women, settling for crumbs because they would rather have some intimacy that's
mm,
not really what it is that they want than no intimacy. And you really do need to create a vacuum in order for that spectacular to show up. You have
yeah.
to step away in order to step forward. And so all of what I'm saying, which is kind of like saying the, like, ugly truth of things that none of us want to hear, it's all on top of, don't you dare settle, and don't you dare
Mm,
compromise who you are, because there is a reason why each of you have developed yourself to be the profound and influential human beings that you are. Like,
mm,
all your people are entrepreneurs, right?
mm, absolutely.
Yeah. So then everyone watching, it's like, you have a purpose on this planet, and
Yeah.
to then just sell yourself out by settling for something like that's that's bull crap. Like that's never going to sit right with you, and it's going to suck the life out of you if you do it. So don't do that either.
I love this. I also wanted to tap into the aspect of the game. You said you played a dating game, and I'm sure that's something that really sets you apart from other people and allows you to empower your clients to not be so attached or like invested and caring about like failing or messing up. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah, because dating is like it's hard, right? It's an emotional roller coaster for sure. So the dating game is designed as a game to like you said, to bring fun, to bring lightness to something that is otherwise that can be really challenging.
Right.
And the way we go about the dating game is rather than trying to find the right person, which is what we usually do, right? We're like swiping on where's the right person. We go on dates hoping that that's the right person. We try to figure out if someone's the right person, and that never ever works. So what we do in the dating game instead is, rather than trying to find the right person, which never works, is you're using the dating game as a vehicle for your personal development, so that you become the person, you become the man or woman who attracts and can see and allow their soulmate, their true partner, their perfect match to show up.
Wow.
And then we also, just sort of as like an added bonus, all that work that we're doing while you're allowing that person to show up, bringing forth that person into your life, it's all the same work that's going to make a huge difference in who you be in that relationship, that will have that relationship last. Yeah. So it's not just about like, getting to the finish line. It's not, because now it's like you're at the bottom of the next mountain at the start of that committed relationship. So all of that work, and it's really amazing to see, I'll just share one piece, for example. One of the things that we really focus on is alignment. Now, that's said a lot of different ways. When I say alignment, what I'm talking about is that your values and your actions and your mindset are consistent with, your actions and your mindset are consistent with your values or what's really important to you. And so you don't have to have everything that you want, but you need to have your mindset and your actions be consistent with those things that are important to you. Yeah. And that's easier. That's easy for us to do. Most of us women do that when we're single. After a relationship, we get back to what we call our truth, and we feel better than ever. It becomes really challenging to bring that into a relationship, which is actually one of the number one reasons why a lot of women, whether they admit it or not, are actually resisting committed relationships and sabotaging to make sure they're not in them, because we really suck. It's really hard for us to hold on to that while being in a committed relationship, because by our nature, we're so giving, we can accommodate, we can put up with all kinds of things, and we want to. So we do a lot of work on that to bring that into the dating game, to bring that into even the start of a relationship, because that is so important for a relationship to last. One of the number one things that has a relationship end is that the woman stops tending to her alignment, and then she gets bitchy. She has no sex drive. She gets easily irritated. She doesn't know who she is anymore. Right. And I can only imagine what that's like for a man. It's horrible. So he's going to get agitated. He's going to get sexually frustrated. He's going to get disinterested. Right. And so on. So that's just one example.
This is gold. I love this. And I think that it shows women who might say, oh, I'm staying single because I want to, work on myself. I want to develop myself. It's really just like a defense mechanism to shield from what they're afraid of happening when they get into a committed relationship. And I think that's really empowering to know and have that awareness that they might be experiencing that. And I want to really focus on the biggest takeaway you want our audience to get, especially the women out there who are listening. I know you can work with men and women, and especially for the women out there, what do they need to hear?
Oh, okay. I'm going to talk to you, not you, Chris, you, the woman who's listening. Okay. And you, the man who's listening, because it's important that we all hear this. All right. Get connected to that vision of love that you want. You've pushed it aside. You've changed it. You've accommodated it. You've You've compromised it to make it seem like something that's attainable. It's time to go back to the root of what it is that you really want. And it's not the hair color, it's not the breast size, and it's not the height or any of that, okay, of the man, none of it. Right? Get connected to that experience you want with another human being and that vision, that future that you want to create, and then reorganize yourself to being able to achieve that. Get yourself on a pathway that you know will get you there. The same way, like, look, the way I became effective in my business is I got myself not just a coach, a team of coaches that showed me the way and pushed me through, right? So whatever it is that you need, and everybody needs different things, but you have to get yourself on a like, it's only going one way pathway. And that starts with the mindset of being clear, of being unapologetic, and then actually being, this is only going one way, not, we'll see if I end up with the right person, then maybe I'll have kids. If you want kids, let's make this happen. Like, let's go. Okay.
I love this. Gold. Michelle, this is a blast. I know the women especially, and even men too, if they're tuning in right now, they're loving your energy, your wisdom, your like just directness, your bluntness, being bold, and reminding them that they get to stand up for what they want, and also come with a very humble, open, wondrous spirit to really redefine what's important to them, or go back to those roots of what's important to them, their values, and how to attract that love of their life. And they want to stay connected with you. They want to continue their journey with you, Michelle. How do they do that?
Yeah, so if you know that you want to find out how I can support you, and there's different ways, and it's different for men and women, then the easiest way is to book a call with me or my team, and that's michellebaxo.com/love call. Like LOVECALL, love call. That's the easiest way. And then we'll talk about what it is that you're dealing with, really get to know you and your situation, what your goals are, what's in the way, and then figure out the best way to move forward. Also, now this would be just for women. I don't know what it would be like for a man to watch it, but I have a free workshop that women can check out as well if you want to, do a little workshop with me. It's a recording of a live workshop, but for that, it's michellebaxo.com/powerloveworkshop. So you can do that. Definitely bring your journal and something to write with if you're going to do that. But ultimately, if you just know it's like, all right, it's springtime, it's time to move this shit forward, then just reach out and we'll find a match for you. We'll figure out what's needed.
Stop putting up with the crap and talk to Michelle. Michelle, thank you so much for being here and sharing your love and your wisdom, and just like being so real and authentic about your journey and where you've been, where you're at today, and some really, really amazing things are coming from you now and in the future. So keep up the amazing creation. Super proud of you, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. I love all of what you're doing, and I love to be a part of it. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you. We'll see you soon, okay?
Bye.